enough to 6 o'clock. So we'll call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Everyone is present except for Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner O'Neill, who are both excused. First item on the agenda is, actually the only item on the agenda, is the BLDC report from Joe Willow.
Perfect, thank you. It's good to see everyone in person.
Yes.
It's been a super long time. Still appreciative of you guys letting me do my abbreviated report last month and not be here in person.
Cupcakes or something.
You know, it's Cinco de Mayo. I was expecting margaritas when I pulled in.
Pretty nice.
You can still do that. There's still time.
It was always after the meeting.
Yes. Fortunately, this meeting has never been one that I need a margarita
Right.
after.
Yeah, this is a fun committee. We love hearing from you.
So we'll dive right into recruitment. I know I've shared with you guys before, the fall's always our big time for that, and that continues to expand. We've gotten 3 RFIs over the last 3.5, 4 weeks. One of them, unfortunately, is it all right if I pull my mask down? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, allowed if you're speaking. Yes.
Thank you. We did have to not respond to one of them. It was a big enough project. They had incredibly significant needs for natural gas power, steam generation, and the physical land was on the verge. We had one property that maybe would have worked, but given all the other demands they needed, it just didn't fit. Honestly, in the 4 years I've been here, it's the first one we've received that we haven't answered to. And I spoke to our counterparts from around the state. I know Great Falls might have had a property that worked. Billings might have had a property that worked. I can't imagine Bozeman or Missoula. It came from the Department of Commerce. That's one of the changes we've experienced. So with the past administration, the Governor's Office of Economic Development ran point on all the business recruitment. So any lead that came into the state, it hit the Gov's office and come out to us. They've shifted that over to the Department of Commerce. And so that's the first one we've received since the new administration began. So it's disappointing not to be able to apply, but all the other ones we are. We do have one that we're going to apply to that I mentioned last time that I think is a long shot. Based on employment numbers, full build out over 5 years, they need 1,200 folks, which is a ton. And we've got several of the others that we've been working since the fall that are doing well, moving along. One has a feasibility study with Brian Sullivan, Montana Manufacturing Extension Center, that should be done sooner than later, I would say next month. And then when they get that information, that'll help them make the decision on whether they want to come to town or not. And that's a 50-person manufacturing company, so that's much more reasonable. Our cap right now is probably in that 200 to 300 neighborhood, and if we had someone that wanted to start a 300-person business here, it'd be really, really difficult.
It's hard.
And
Is
then
the workforce the biggest? The
yes.
available workforce is the biggest drag. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, and I think, I obviously have some severe bias, but I think we're positioned better than a lot of communities. We could use more folks for sure, but our housing here, yes, housing's in a huge pinch right now, but we have stuff coming online. There's a ton of uptown housing in the future. We're not in the position that a Bozeman is, like not even remotely close. And the new housing, like a working person can still afford it,
Right.
where we're not seeing median home sales at $600,000. 2 weeks ago, we had a site visit with someone in the entertainment space, so more of a retail entertainment business, not a big job creator. It's one that if they do choose to come here, I think the entire community will be pretty dang excited. It was a pretty cool one because they have, it's a large franchise, national, actually international franchise. They've got businesses across the US, Canada, Japan, one other foreign country that I can't remember. And one of the things that I thought was cool with that is we've really worked hard over the last few years to kind of change how those site visits go. We go to these site selectors meetings, which we'll be going to in June again this year. We get to pick those guys' brains, hear what they experience, what they expect when they bring people to town. And we've definitely done some shifts. It could be a little thing like with those guys, we go and rent a car so that we have a brand new clean car to drive them around in. It's a pretty cheap cost for us, $100 for the day. But instead of one of us having to clean our cars, it just if anyone's been in my car, that'd be like a weekend lead up to make sure we got there.
Oh, yeah, especially when you have kids.
But there's a lot of those things that I think we're doing in a much more professional manner. I shouldn't say before. I wasn't doing this before. I don't know what it was like before, but it's been changes that certainly weren't done. The packages we were able to send them with our team, working with the city, Karen and Kristen, JP, it's all professional level stuff, which is really good. Those guys brought that up. So we spent 4 hours with them. It was the morning we had BLDC board, so I had to duck out when they went to lunch. Cassandra and Karen went with them to lunch. And that was what they really brought up, is they've been to communities where it's like, hey, we want to come to your town. And the mayor's like, well, I've got this fun run next weekend. If you want this permit you need, make sure you're a big donor for that. And we're obviously the exact opposite of that. And they really spoke highly of, man, you guys really rolled the red carpet out for us. The materials you gave us were good. Karen single-handedly strong-armed them into coming. She got the lead from a ex-employee of the city, reached out to him, said, hey, we'd love you guys to come here. In the first meeting, that's really what they said, was like, they pointed at her, they're like, man, we wouldn't be here without her. So for us, it's cool because we do work so well together. You know, I mean, we bug this Karen, Kristen, JP all the time. That's who I stepped out to talk with. And it's good to be able to have those and then get that positive feedback of like, oh yeah, we're doing some of these things right, which is really nice.
Yeah, I love it.
I usually have it at the end. I called Ray last weekend, this week, haven't gotten in touch with him. He texted me the other day talking finances, so I know that's where he's at with things, still putting the deck together. I know he's been working in Helena to try and get funding out of the ARPA funds up there. Slowly but surely.
Yep.
I definitely don't have any new exciting info to
Right.
share with him.
Okay.
Before I go to retention, do you guys have any questions on recruitment?
Was there something about Montana's climate, not weather, but, you know, business climate that compelled the one that we weren't gonna respond to look in Montana, to cite in Montana?
My gut says it was one so the way a lot of those go is you have the company, they hire a site selection firm, then the site selection firm does all the outreach. My gut says the site selection firm sent it to every state.
Okay.
Because I talked to all the big cities and everyone was like, maybe.
Gotcha.
Like, I didn't talk to anyone that was like, oh yeah, we got a site that's perfect for this.
Okay.
And we don't get a ton of those leads. We get more direct business contact from folks. Even the ones we've gotten from the state are they're more scaled to fit with what we have to offer. Where that one was, I mean, we were texting each other as everyone was trying to pull proposals together. It's like, I don't know where this is gonna fit. And if I were to bet you guys it'll end up in Alabama, North Carolina, somewhere in the South where they have significant infrastructure, and then those states all roll out a tremendous amount of incentives. Yeah, when we go to the site selectors guilds, it's kind of laughable what our state does to incentivize businesses versus what we do, which can be frustrating at times, but at the same time, we get businesses that want to be here, that aren't just chasing dollars. And if you want a really good case study, and I look up what they did in Wisconsin, a few years ago, they paid, I think it was around $150,000 to $200,000 per new job created, and I can send you a link to it.
I'd like to
Yeah,
see
would
it
you
too.
please?
Yeah, and none of the incentives have panned out. They didn't create the jobs they were going to do.
Right.
And they've kind of lost their shorts on the whole deal. And so for us, I mean, that's why the TIF is so popular, is there's great incentives with tax increment financing. We work with the state a lot through the Big Sky Trust Fund program, so we can do about $12,500 per new job created. Wausau is a good example. They receive that full benefit. But we're just not an incentive-driven state. And that is one thing I think coming out of Helena that's probably going to change. So the Big Sky Trust Fund that we use, they carved out $700,000 from that program and allocated it to an employee that's going to live in California, an employee that's going to live in the Midwest, and then an employee that's going to live in Taiwan, just to do business recruitment.
Wow.
So that's a pretty significant change.
Yeah, in a global economy,
Yeah.
that's what you're gonna expect.
Statewide, I worry about it on the human side of getting the employees. Locally here, I mean, we're doing okay in that regard, but yeah, we need more people too.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So retention, not too much different. I mean, every month it gets better and better when I get to come see you guys. People are getting vaccinated, businesses are all open, restrictions are non-existent. Restaurant retail that got hit the hardest is doing I mean, they're still not up to full levels, I would say. We still have some restaurants that are closed as a result of the pandemic. But compared to a year ago, heck of a lot better. We've been getting, and Julie, I'll have you elaborate on this as well, because you do a lot of the one-on-one stuff. We've been getting a lot of calls about the programs to support businesses. So the restaurant revitalization at Grant opened Monday, right? We've all been getting calls on that one. Shuttered Venues has been open for what, 2 weeks? Those funds are definitely going to help. I'm particularly excited for the restaurant ones. We've been working with those folks a lot over the last year. I've got a lot of friends that own restaurants throughout the region. I think that's going to be a pretty dang impactful grant program. And PPP's winding down. Now you have to go through a CDFI to get it even, right? You can't go through your traditional lender. And so things are on the up and up. The programs for the large part are winding down. I know the state through ARPA funds is going to allocate money for value-added agriculture, which will be good. Locally here, you know, ranch land, breweries, potentially Montana Craft Malt would probably be the bigger players in that space. But things are definitely changing. And what would you say you've seen talking to business owners?
I think that there's some things that they're working through with the SBA, because right now during the first 21 days only women or minority businesses can apply. So I have had some folks reach out to that, and what I'm hearing from the SBA is that the funds are going to go really quick, that the response has been extremely overwhelming, so I'm a little bit worried about that for the folks coming at the back end of that, but I'm hoping beyond hope that Montana gets enough allocated to help our businesses, because our region, like Joe mentioned, has been really hard hit. A lot of our restaurant owners have reached out for help. We, through the CARES Act, received some additional funding, and we've been able to make all of our training no cost, so that they can go to any training that they like throughout the state of Montana if the SBDC puts it on for no cost, which has been huge. A lot of them are done via Zoom now, so that they can, you know, take a training in Billings, we can take a training in Great Falls. Those folks can tie into us here in Butte, which has really been great, and it's also like caused some synergy to happen between businesses, which I think is great. The shuttered venue is another big one that I think is going to help a lot of our region, our smaller theaters. You know, we have the Motherlode here in town. I know that they put in an application, and I know that a couple of the other folks in Phillipsburg, Dillon and Drummond, all put in, not Drummond, but Deer Lodge, all put in applications as well. So
And tell me
hopefully
what that
they'll
is,
get
shuttered venues? Is that what
yeah,
it's
so
called?
if you were like a theater or a
Yeah.
live theater production, you could put in for that funding to help offset the loss from last year of all your ticket sales, and hopefully get up and going again in the fall of this year, or the spring or summer, whichever they put in there. But that response has been really good. And then the other thing is, like what Joe mentioned with the food and ag, we have a lot of people gearing up for the food and ag money, and hopefully the state comes through with some programs for it, and that's what we've been hearing. So, and the co-op, that would be a great use of that for
Yeah.
the co-op too, so.
How about the civic center?
I was just gonna ask that, Dan.
They should be
They'd be
eligible
eligible.
for shuttered venues, I
That's what I was
think.
wondering.
I'd have to check to see if it can be a city
Private or
county
can it be
owned.
county owned, they might not be able to.
I
Yeah.
don't know, with county owned, they might not be able to.
It's just,
But like the Covalite, those folks, I mean, if they could show that they had, you know, things throughout the year booked, and then they had to cancel it, they would be eligible.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, for reference, the food and ag money they're putting out, the GTA grants, one we use all the time. Locally, I know Tony Olson's Brewery's been a recipient, Craft Malt, Ranchland, Tresolino's. A normal year, they do $625,000 of grants. This new round of ARPA money, they're dedicating $50 million.
Oh my gosh.
So like exponentially more.
Yeah.
We worked with the Lady of the Rockies, they put in a shuttered venue, and I'm hoping that Jeanette did as well at the Mining Museum,
Right.
because it can be a museum or it can be anything like a tour-based operation, so I've been able to connect with Jeanette, but I've tried, but if anybody runs into her, if she hasn't done it,
Okay.
it would be really worthwhile to look at.
what's the deadline on that?
When the money's exhausted, that's what we're hearing, yeah.
So the sooner the better.
Yeah, sooner the better to get in the queue and see if they're eligible or can get some funding to help.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not in the list, but related to that too, EDA is one of our big funding partners at the federal level. For the first round of CARES funding last spring, they got 1.5 billion for our region. They're getting 3 billion this time. So the 3.2 million we have to relend to businesses, and then some of our operating money on headwaters came out of that pot. We had a call with Kurt Kaiser, who's the Montana, Wyoming rep for them, and they have several different buckets they're looking to do now, including tourism and outdoor recreation, which is a pretty big deviation from EDA. EDA for us traditionally is small businesses and community infrastructure. So like the Rail Spur received an EDA grant last year to the tune of about $3.4 million. They like doing that sort of stuff. So we're excited to see what that new money is going to do. And Lady of the Rockies is, of course, front of mind with the ability to go across the freeway. If we can get as much into that as possible out of them, we'll be pushing hard there.
That's awesome.
And then we don't have any, I mean, all the federal money right now, we know the numbers, we don't have any guidance. So
Yeah, exactly.
it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
So are they gonna kind of keep track of, when the first COVID money came out, the CARES Act money, the bigger players flooded the system and pretty much drained the pot for the little people down there. Will they kind of be careful of that this time, or is it gonna be, because a lot of the bigger players also had record years, but they got all the money,
Yeah.
and so the little guy that got hurt, there was nothing left in the pot.
With the ARPA funding, there's not near as much money for like individual business assistance. So they freshened up PPP. They're doing the Restaurant Revitalization Act and they're doing the Shuttered Venues program. But even with the state allocation, I know the legislature isn't doing as much of the like individual business assistance and the feds aren't either. A lot more of it's going to be going to infrastructure. So at the state level, they're really hot up on water and wastewater. There's going to be grants coming out this summer for that. They're really invested in broadband. They've dedicated, I believe it was $350 million for broadband improvements. And I mean, short answer, no, but not because of the system. I just don't think they're putting money that direction this time.
All that infrastructure is super important though.
Yeah.
It's why you didn't respond to a question.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was more of an individual, even if
Sure.
this money is not going to fix that problem.
Right. True.
But I mean, yeah, I know the project we've talked to JP and folks about is improved ability to use Silver Lake water. So being able to renovate the pump systems out there so you have more control. To my understanding, and I'm not an engineer, right now it's kind of like on or off. You don't have the ability to gauge how much is coming.
Yeah.
And so that would be the big change that I would anticipate that project will get done through it. And then I mean simple infrastructure things, roads, pipes, internet, broadband infrastructure for sure is needed. I mean, we've been Zoom for a year and it always cracks me up where, I mean, I'm sitting in my office and we have staff in the middle of town that is having crummy internet. Like that just blows me away,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think that our environment, our working environment has been changed forever now.
Oh yeah.
There's no reason to go back to the purely traditional ways of doing things.
Julie and I met before this meeting and that's what we discussed is like, we know there's value in us all being in the office together, but we also know there's a ton of value for people to be able to work remotely. Like how do we figure out to capitalize on those brainstorming sessions in person, but also give people the flexibility to work remote because this is the future.
It's the future. it's the future that we want, or that I want anyway. I like it.
Yeah.
Sweet spot.
We gotta find the sweet spot, yeah.
So small business grants, thanks to you guys and the collective you guys that aren't here, we partnered up with the Standard to do the small business advertising marketing grants. We sat down this week and determined the successful applicants. They have not been notified yet. We had 22 applicants. We narrowed it down to 15, which is the amount that was allocated to us at $500 plus a $500 match from the Standard. They'll be notified by Friday and we'll be able to get to work with the Standard starting next week.
Great.
So super appreciative of you guys supporting that idea. When we talked yesterday, it's not, I mean, a year ago we were doing things like this to be able to help save businesses. Now it's more like, man, we're coming out the other end. This is just going to be more gas on the fire to help your business become even stronger, which is a heck of a lot nicer place to be at. Uptown development, I know I beat this one to death, but it's also nonstop still. We had a meeting with one of the new building owners today talking about new properties. the URA meeting last week, I think, had 7 grant projects that went through it. We've got loan interest on buildings all over Uptown. The Uptown Master Plan's moving right along. I believe the meetings are gonna be May 25, 26, if I remember correctly. I'll email that one to you guys as well, so we for sure have it down. But we're gonna be doing hybrid for that, so an in-person meeting and then a digital meeting. We're gonna do the noon and then the evening meetings like we did for the first round, because those were far and away the most well-attended meetings we've done the entire pandemic by like a big margin. And so that's coming up, that's moving along. I'm excited to see it. I love planning, so it's exciting to see that stuff move forward. But as we look at the investment that's coming to Uptown and hopefully more folks moving into Uptown, some good plans to really help us capitalize on that investment, I think is super necessary. And as I always repeat, it's the best asset we got. I mean, even if it's site selectors that we're bringing in, that it's only a port project. They want to drive around, see neighborhoods, see Uptown, see the airport, see everything that's going on. Film. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it's back. Driving to the office today, passed 3 ridiculously expensive cars because they're filming an episode of Top Gear around here. And actually, if you go to Dax Shepard's Instagram, you can see a picture of a Bugatti, a Audi S8, and a Lamborghini parked. We couldn't figure it out. I'm guessing it's either between here and Deer Lodge or between here and Melrose. But they've been in town all week shooting. Cassandra was showing folks around for a pilot series today. Film industry, I mean, last year it couldn't have came at a better time because it filled up our hotels when no one was here.
Yeah.
Now it's just kind of icing on the cake, and I don't see it going away. We met with Steve Grover recently. He's still moving ahead with his plans for the film studio, our neighbor across the street there. It's definitely going to move slower than we had anticipated, but his plans to reutilize that whole space are pretty cool, and it's such a mammoth building that I think the way he has it broken up makes a ton of sense. And I mean, it's another weird one to me. I mean, you heard the names last fall of who's coming to town, and to me it's like, yeah, we're, you know, this little community in Montana, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. And I still vouch that it's us and the Bitterroot that are attracting all of it. And I wouldn't be surprised in the future to see us as really kind of the big player, because you can only shoot so many episodes at cowboy shows like Yellowstone, where we have all that to offer 20 minutes out of town and then everything else in Uptown. So I'm greatly appreciative of the city doing the film permit. I think that's greatly helped smooth that process, because that was convoluted there for a while. We'd have folks call us, we'd connect them to Karen, Karen would talk to someone, then they'd go to Sheriff Lester. It's just this mess, and that process that was developed to me has worked supremely well, where it's a one-point source, they know what they need, we know what they need. And I mean, it's more restaurant, hotel dollars that, I mean, all those businesses need as much as they can get moving forward as well.
And they're employing people for gig work.
Yeah.
I mean, I see people that are helping with some of the casting calls constantly on Facebook. Hey, we're looking for, you know, youth today. We'll take a 16-year-old if you look 18.
Yeah.
You know, kind of stuff like that. So it's great.
What about 36 that looks 50?
They were looking for somebody with a beard.
Oh.
They were. You missed out on your
You
opportunity.
missed out.
I had just shaved.
We might have to rock, paper, scissors.
CNN was here and did a story too about Butte, and
Yeah.
they went up to the lady. They got to do footage up there. They got to interview some of the people connected with the lady, and they got to tour through. Maria took them around, so I think that'll be. It's supposed to be on for Mother's Day.
Great.
It's called Off the Beaten Path or Off the Beaten Road.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's exciting. They're pretty.
We seem to make every show with the title close to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys saw we got listed on the Today Show last weekend.
It's for the Zoom.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Butte, Montana.
Yeah.
What'd they name 3 places in Butte, Montana?
Yes, yeah, and then Florida and
Yeah, somewhere in Florida.
But they don't,
pretty
they
cool.
don't know that our broadband needs some help.
Zoomtown, USA.
Yeah.
what they say.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's such a wild component, is being able to drag those salaries with you. And I mean, to me, one, it's good for our local retailers, of course. Like, they're buying groceries here, they're buying gas here, their kids are going to school, those things. But the other part too is, I mean, you look at the tech ecosystem and you get a lot of those folks that spin off and start their own thing. I mean, that's to me the long play is, yeah, okay, I'm working for Facebook remote from Butte, but I have this idea I've been churning forever, and now I'm going to start that. So I think it's a long ways down the road, 5-10 years from now, but it's hard for me to see us not capitalize on some of that and see some of those spin-offs come here. And to your point, Commissioner Shea, about film, the jobs is the long play on that one as well. We've spoken to the guys, so there was a big film tax credit bill that went through the legislature this year, trying to get that expanded. We've talked to them a bunch, and I can see Highlands in the future really catering to that industry and building curriculum to work with grips and lighting and sound, where if we can get the workforce here, that those production companies can just show up and go do their thing, and they know they have a stable workforce here. That's where the real value, at least from an economic development perspective, comes in, is, yeah, then you have full-time permanent jobs. The activity's great. We need the economic activity, but we're an economic development organization, not an economic activity organization, and we want to see that job production. So another one, it's going to take some time, but we're certainly trending in the right direction. Economic Development Week. So some of you have probably heard me chat about this one before, some of you haven't. Butte and southwestern Montana is the only region in the state that celebrates National Economic Development Week. It's put on by IEDC, which is the International Economic Development Council. It's next week, starting on Monday, going through Friday. We've got a variety of trainings. We've got workplace culture, grant writing, marketing, a value-added agriculture one. We're doing our Building Butte series Wednesday, and that's going to be with Governor Gianforte. We're having a roundtable with economic development leaders Thursday. Am I missing any?
I think that's everything, yeah. So full grant writing, you already
Yeah.
said your grant class.
It's all digital, which is a bummer. We wouldn't be able to start doing some of these things in person, but we're super cautious. Don't want to get anyone sick still.
Right.
And I'm still kind of blown away no one else is doing it, but we're happy to lead the pack statewide. And yeah, we'll definitely, I would highly recommend jumping on the one with Governor Gianforte. That series has been really good. We've had good enough attendance, and we've had Senator Tester, Chief Executive Gallagher, as well as Brent Donnelly, who's the State Director for SBA. And it's nice because it's a little more casual. We don't record them, we don't open it up for questions. Especially for political leaders like Tester, I'm assuming with Gianforte, it lets them be a little more open with things instead of just, I know this question, we get it all the time, here's my canned answer. So we have some fun on it. It'll be noon next Wednesday via Zoom. And yeah, looking forward to that. And next year we'll be able to do some things in person, which will be really nice. The last one, and I'm gonna make this a pinned one for every time I come see you guys, because you guys were instrumental in helping us get this done, is the Anaconda Arco loan. So we did 17 loans last spring. I know from our conversations, we figured we'd be writing a few of them off. This has not been the case. As of right now, 16 to 17 are paying back. There's one that's lagging a little bit. There's one the one that's not listed there is probably a little more problematic, but knowing the business owner, I'm sure we'll get repaid. Again, appreciative of your guys' support to help get that done. It wouldn't have been done without you guys and being able to trust us with that Anaconda Arco money.
Well, you guys have the great idea, and so we'll share the credit.
Ideas aren't that good without cash for these things.
Right. It was such a different time then, and things were so uncertain, and I
Yeah.
remember how upset we all were at the time, even just listening to everybody talk, and former Chief Executive Palmer was just adamant that we do something. And you guys were adamant that we do something.
Well, I remember when I
It was
woke
great
up,
to be part of it.
when I woke up that time of year, I mean, it was like the phone would start ringing with business owners, scared for what to do.
Yes.
I go to bed with phone calls and texts, and I know I didn't get what you did, because overseeing SBDC, I mean, that was the lion's share
Yeah.
of where those calls were coming from. And to go from there to today, yeah, it's It's quite a bit more optimistic.
It's we're a lot more optimistic now, yeah.
I can promise you with this money too, there's businesses that are still gonna be open that probably wouldn't have been otherwise, even with all the other assistance, so. Those were the big items. I'm happy to open it up to questions. Anything you guys wanna know?
You know, I get lots of people asking
I know.
about, Agers building. I did find out last night what it was. There's a ton of activity.
Yeah, there is. Where Marcom was, yeah.
The wrestling club's using it for practice.
Yes.
Oh.
Everybody's hoping something's
I
coming.
know that one is the
At
IGA.
night time, the cars, parking lot's full, and everybody's excited something's going on, but
Oh, okay.
it's the wrestling club utilizing it for wrestling.
Do either of you have any information on the estimated opening date for Kobe?
For what?
Kobe, the
Steakhouse.
steakhouse.
They're 2 months behind.
The Coke man knows.
I've heard that too, that they're behind.
Yeah.
Okay,
I ask their neighbor weekly.
okay, okay. Because I see that they're doing work there and their signs up and it's
Yeah,
like,
they were supposed to be open 2 months ago.
oh, okay.
I monitor it closely as well because I'm a frequent fly shop visitor, and so
Yeah, right
I
there.
see every new painted coat that hits it, the sign. But yeah, we
Yeah,
had talks earlier in the year with them, and yeah, same thing, moving slow.
just moving slow. Well,
Yep.
it's hard right now. Materials are expensive.
Yeah,
Workers
If they're
workers are
available.
hard to find. Contractors are hard to find because they're busy.
so that's the other interesting tidbit I heard when we did rent a car for our site visit. Ryan at Hertz said, you cannot rent a car in the state of Montana in the month of July.
True.
Cannot rent a car, and I know I saw some press about hotel rates up in the Flathead at $650 a night for like airport hotels. Like,
Wow.
we're not talking some boutique place. So one of the things I think we do have coming that's going to be good is a huge tourism season. And our location halfway between the parks, like that doesn't escape folks.
Yeah.
It's
So yeah, oh yeah,
Motel parking lots are half full during the week.
yeah. You can just see it in plates if you pull into Safeway or anywhere near the freeway. I mean, it's coming. So it's going to be a big boon for us. I mean, pulling more people off the freeway is always a good thing.
All of the stop signs.
Some folks are struggling to get employees. I think we're gonna continue to see that.
Even with Gianforte's new incentive program that he's gonna roll out,
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is they get people hired and then they work a couple days and then they don't
They-
come back.
that's
or
what I was wondering.
they don't show up or they're not on time.
I think once they accept that, then they can't go back on unemployment. That's the goal.
Well, the
Yeah.
problem is I don't see that is a solution to the problem that we have. The problem that we have right now is not that people are sitting home collecting unemployment. The problem we have is we have unemployable people sitting on the sidelines not working because they're literally unemployable. They don't possess any marketable skills. They don't have any, customer service skills. All of those things. And I work as a recruiter, so I know what I'm seeing, and it's.
But the
I don't
service,
think that's the only
the
problem.
service end can employ a lot of those people and they just don't do it.
But you can't. You can, but it can really be hard for your business when you employ someone that has no customer service skills.
You did see that Friends got reopened,
Yes.
which was
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah,
It's exciting.
Well, and I think one of the challenges too, I mean, it's sheer population. We're at 3.8%
exactly.
unemployment for the
numbers.
state, which
Yeah.
is like what we were at pre-pandemic.
Yeah,
And I mean, yeah, 2 years ago, that's all I talked to you guys about is we need more people, we need more people. Like,
we do.
workforce is a challenge because there's just physically not enough folks here. And to me, I think we're back at that side of things. So yeah, to your point, do I think that's going to have a huge impact? Probably not.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
was
we
in-
need more people moving in.
Yeah,
I was in
that's
Missoula
exactly what we
over
need.
the weekend and Taco Bell had a big sign up, 300 sign-on bonus,
Yep.
$14.50 an hour.
Yep.
Apply today.
Yep.
Right on their billboard.
And basically what those state dollars are sign-on bonuses.
Yeah.
For by the government. That's really all they are. So you don't know if you're gonna have an employee that's gonna put on their best face for you as a hiring manager, that you're going to hire and they're gonna bail after 4 weeks.
Even when we were hiring last summer, I mean, we ended up getting really good candidates, but it wasn't near the pool that we've previously had, like
We're
not
seeing-
even close.
We're seeing the same thing in some of our entry-level positions.
Starting rumors while we're here? I don't know what's going on with Kmart,
Oh,
other than they're getting a new roof.
Like a roof.
We got asked last night at the co-op if that's where they were going, because there's a new roof. And
Yeah,
it's like, no, that's not
Well, I
gonna
was
happen.
told they can't market it with a leaky roof, so.
Yep, and that's
Plus,
true.
they got some of that URA money from that.
Yep. yeah. That South Harrison URD is going to be a really good tool.
It's
I
gonna be
mean,
great.
half the projects I rattle off to you guys are in a URD district.
Yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah.
They are effective.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, retail's just going to lag population, and especially some of the big box, more regional retail things folks want. I think a big part's just going to have to be more people moving here, getting critical mass.
Definitely.
In the past, we've had some guys that were looking, COVID kind of put a slowdown to that. Are they gone?
Crushed it.
They crushed it.
The lead we had that I would have talked to you guys about December 2019, January 2020, we followed up with them recently because they were pretty warm on us and said, hey, and this was pre-pandemic, it's like, want to come look, you know, we think you guys would be a good fit. We reached out to them maybe 3 months ago, and they actually came through Montana last summer and have decided to site elsewhere for the time being. But we've got good communication lines with a bunch of those folks, which is a good thing. I really do think as we see more growth at the Connections Park with some of the good paying jobs they have out there, kind of growth overall, people moving to town, bringing salaries with them,
Improve that
it'll come.
Household income.
Yep,
That's important.
yeah. It's all data driven for them. I mean, when we did the Buxton stuff, we could go in and say, how many people are going into grocery stores in Butte in the month of June? And it would tell you based on cell phone data with a graph, this is exactly what each day was doing. You could do dollars, average dollars spent. You could drill it down to how many dollars were spent on donuts in Butte in this time frame. So I know they're looking at the same exact things to just say X, 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 and X, and then they also reverse that and say, okay, let's say we want to cite a whatever store in Helena. They can look at that travel data and say how many Butte folks are driving to Helena to go to Target. Yep.
How many are shopping up there? You start a store here, you lose 20% up
Yep.
there because it's worth putting this right here.
Yeah. The analytics they have are scary. I mean, it's so data driven. It's cool, but it's scary.
You can't
How
just,
about,
you can't just wish for things to be
That was
solved
a 3-year
on Facebook.
contract, what are we in the second year?
Yeah, we're pausing for now.
Okay.
Yeah, with the pandemic, we reached out to everybody and everybody said no. We had one lukewarm lead last fall that said, yeah, we're interested. We've had communications with them. They've not been to a point that they can commit. And so for the time being, I could see us eventually going back to them and working with them some more, but for now, there's still too much uncertainty. And it was really unfortunate for us because we launched it in the middle of the pandemic. Like,
Right.
it took 3 months to build up everything, put together all the paperwork, all the documents to send to them. About the time we hit send was like late January, early February, as the whole world was put on its head. And yeah, it was really disappointing because we were pretty excited about it.
Yeah. We were excited about it too.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
But I do think, you know, I mean, for our organization, being able to get the job creation, which is happening, it's going to get there.
It's kind of an endless cycle of chicken and egg.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you throw housing on top of it.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, we can recruit all the jobs we want, but if you don't have a place, if you don't have the people or anywhere for people to live. And we're fortunate, I mean, Montana drives, so
Right.
when we're recruiting folks, like, yeah, we share our population here, but we also expand into the greater Headwaters region of, yeah, you have 85,000 people in the 7-county region, and driving 40 minutes to work is nothing for most folks.
Right. Well, you'd be doing that in a large.
Yeah,
metropolitan
in a
area anyway.
heck of a lot less enjoyable commute.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's a big advantage for us, and especially with Anaconda, you know, yeah, there's traffic patterns like that. We got really good data last year looking at the transition from Dillon to Butte, and it was almost equal how many folks leave Dillon to come here to work and then leave here to go to work in Dillon. It's really interesting.
It is interesting. And school.
Yeah,
There's a lot of students that do the same thing.
A lot of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how many Western hoodies I see up here
Right.
and how many tech
Tech
hoodies I
hoodies.
see in
Yeah,
Dillon.
Exactly. Yeah, that's funny. Well,
But that's our approach. I mean, that's with our joint venture between BLDC and Headwaters. I mean, for us, the more the region works together, the better. whether it's on the employment side, the recruitment side. I mean,
Yeah,
rising tide lifts all ships.
absolutely. Yep. I'm a firm believer in that one.
Except for the Panama Canal.
Yeah, well, you
No
just
shit.
don't parallel park in it.
Size of your ship.
Depends on how you try to go through it.
Yeah, don't park in a no parking zone.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no other official discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion so moved.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.